people who live underwater as if they were fish, places where nature shrinks bodies to ensure survival, people with the healthiest hearts ever recorded by science, and peoples who have survived for tens of thousands of years in lands where you or I would die in a matter of hours. This is Uncensored World, and today we're going to meet the tribes that defy the laws of science. Number 10. The Bajau, the people who live underwater. In Southeast Asia, among the islands of the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, there is a people who for over 1,000 years have literally lived on the sea. Their homes are stilt houses driven directly into the ocean, several meters deep. They have no land, they have no fields, they have no livestock. Everything they eat, everything they are, and everything they know comes from the water. And over time, the ocean has changed them from within. An adult Bajau fisherman can dive as deep as 60 meters on a single breath. No tank, no wetsuit, no equipment, just his body, a handmade spear, and a pair of hand-carved goggles. They can stay underwater for between 8 and 13 minutes at a time. To understand what that means, a professional free diver, someone who has spent years training specifically for this, can last between 2 and 4 minutes. The Bajau do it every day to get their breakfast. It's not training, it's not technique, it's pure biology. In 2015, researchers from the University of Copenhagen traveled to Indonesia to study them and discovered something that forever changed what we believed was possible for the human body. The Bajau have the largest spleens ever recorded in any human population on the planet. When the body submerges, the spleen contracts and releases additional red blood cells into the bloodstream. More red blood cells mean more oxygen available for the muscles and brain. It's exactly the same mechanism that seals and dolphins use to prolong their dives. It exists in humans, but to a very limited extent. Among the Bajau, the spleen was, on average, 59% larger than that of neighboring tribes living on land. Not just a little bigger, almost twice as large. And most striking of all, this was also true for Bajau, who hardly ever dived, which means it's not an adaptation that each individual develops through practice. It is a genetic adaptation. The Bajau body is built for the ocean from the start. Researchers even identified the specific gene responsible for this, PDE10A, a variant found in the Bajau but not in any neighboring population, and which is directly linked to spleen size. Natural selection, over centuries of underwater life, had literally rewritten part of their genetic code. But it's not just the spleen that's different. Their eyes have also undergone a transformation. A study showed that Bajau children constrict their pupils when diving in a way that no other human population studied is able to replicate, allowing them to see clearly underwater where any other human would only see a blur. Scientists believe this adaptation developed because entire generations of Bajau children learned to see underwater, even before they learned to walk on dry land. Furthermore, their tolerance for carbon dioxide is significantly higher than the human average. The urge to breathe does not stem from running out of oxygen, but rather from the buildup of CO2 in the blood, which triggers an alarm in the brain. In the Bajau, that alarm goes off later. Their heart rate also slows when submerged to levels that would be considered medically dangerous in anyone else. For them, it is simply the normal rhythm underwater. Bajau children learn to swim before they learn to walk. By age 8, they are already diving on their own. By age 10, many reach depths of over 20 meters without assistance. There are records of Bajau fishermen winning local free diving competitions against divers trained specifically for competition, not as an exception, as something completely normal. Some elders, after decades of daily dives, deliberately pierce their eardrums to relieve the pressure that builds up at depth. The pain lasts a few days. The benefit lasts the rest of their lives. Today, however, something troubling is happening. The governments of the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia have been pressuring the Bajau for decades to abandon their houseboats and settle on dry land. Many have already done so, and scientists are observing something they didn't expect. In Bajau families that have been living on land for generations, the spleens are shrinking. Underwater vision is deteriorating. The diving reflex is weakening. What took 1,000 years to develop is disappearing in just 2 generations. Because evolution, when it is no longer necessary, reverses course. And with it, one of the most extraordinary experiments nature has ever conducted on the human body. Do you think the Bajau are proof that humans could have evolved toward the sea instead of toward the land? Leave your answer in the comments. Speaking of water, at the end of this video you'll meet a tribe that survived one of the most devastating tsunamis in history, while everyone around them perished. Their abilities seem almost supernatural. But first we travel to Bolivia, where science discovered something inside the chests of its inhabitants that no doctor in the world had ever seen before. Number 9. The Chimane, the tribe with the healthiest hearts in the world. In the Bolivian Amazon rainforest, hours away from any city, lives a people who for centuries have remained almost completely isolated from the modern world. The Chimane hunt, fish, and farm just as they did 1,000 years ago. No supermarkets, no cars, no gyms, and that has made them the most cardiovascularly healthy population ever studied by science. In 2017, an international team of cardiologists performed scans of the hearts and arteries of nearly 800 Chimane adults between the ages of 40 and 94. What they found left the medical community speechless. 85% showed virtually no signs of atherosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries that is the leading cause of death in the Western world. An 80-year-old Chimane man had the arteries of a 50-year-old Westerner. The study was published in The Lancet, one of the world's most prestigious medical journals, and was considered a historic discovery. Scientists identified 3 factors. The first is constant movement. The Chimane walk, hunt, and work between 6 and 7 hours a day, not as exercise, but for survival. On average, a Chimane adult walks the equivalent of 16 kilometers a day throughout their entire life. The second factor is even more surprising. The Chimane derive between 70 and 72% of their calories from carbohydrates: rice, corn, cassava, plantains. Exactly the foods that modern diets point to as culprits behind cardiovascular decline. Yet their hearts are the healthiest on the planet. The difference lies in the fact that these are natural, unprocessed foods, and that every calorie they consume is burned off as they move through the jungle. The third factor is the near-total absence of chronic stress. No debt, no bosses, no notifications. Their bodies never accumulate the silent inflammation that destroys the arteries of millions of people in the modern world. The researchers were very clear. The Chimane do not have special genetics. What they do have is the way of life for which the human body was designed over millions of years of evolution. And the most disturbing part of the study is what happens when the Chimane migrate to cities. In less than a generation, their arteries begin to deteriorate. The same heart, the same genes, a completely different outcome. It's not the tribe, it's the world we live in. But if you think this is the most shocking fact in the video, wait until you meet the next tribe. In Tanzania, there is a people who have been living like our ancestors for more than 50,000 years, and who have proven that everything we thought we knew about human metabolism was wrong. Number 8. The Hadza, the tribe that lives as it did 50,000 years ago. In the heart of Tanzania, beside a remote lake, live approximately 1,300 people who may be the most accurate reflection of how all humans lived before the advent of agriculture, cities, and civilization as we know it. The Hadza are one of the last remaining pure hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. They do not farm. They do not raise animals. They do not store food. Whatever they hunt or gather each day, they eat that very same day. Every morning they wake up not knowing what they'll eat, and they've been doing this without interruption for more than 50,000 years. For decades, scientists assumed that this lifestyle must entail a massive energy expenditure. That hunting, walking kilometers, and climbing trees would burn far more calories than the life of a Western office worker. It seemed logical. It was completely false. In 2012, a team of scientists traveled to Tanzania to precisely measure the calories the Hadza burned each day. The results were so unexpected that they delayed publishing them because they feared no one would believe them. The Hadza burned exactly the same number of calories per day as a sedentary Western adult. No more. The same. The explanation is surprising. When the body moves more, it doesn't expend more energy overall, but rather reorganizes it. It devotes fewer resources to processes that slowly make us sick, such as internal inflammation. It's as if constant movement shuts down the mechanisms that destroy the body from within. And that is exactly what protects the Hadza from the diseases that kill millions of people in the modern world. Their diet consists of whatever the land provides each day: wild honey, berries, tubers, game meat. Sometimes they eat monkey, sometimes turtle. They have no set schedules or recipes, and yet their bodies are in a state of physical fitness that most Westerners cannot achieve, even in their prime. Their gut microbiota, the community of bacteria that lives in our intestines and controls much of our health, is the most diverse ever recorded in any human population. Hundreds of bacterial species that have completely disappeared from the guts of people living in modern cities. Some researchers believe that this loss is one of the main causes of the rise in allergies and diseases in the West. The Hadza have no leaders. They do not accumulate possessions. If someone finds honey, they share it that very afternoon. If someone hunts a large animal, the whole camp eats. Hoarding doesn't exist because it makes no sense in their world. But if you think the Hadza defy science, wait until you meet the next tribe. Because in the jungles of Central Africa, there is a people whose bodies nature has radically transformed. And the reason why is far more fascinating than you can imagine. Number 7. The Pygmies, the people nature decided to make small. In the tropical rainforests of Central Africa, where trees reach 30 meters in height and the vegetation is so dense that the sun barely touches the ground, lives a group of peoples who, for thousands of years, have defied one of the most basic rules of human biology. The Pygmies, which include groups such as the Baka, the Aka, and the Mbuti, are the shortest humans on the planet. An adult pygmy stands, on average, between 150 and 155 centimeters tall. But what's truly extraordinary isn't their height. It's the reason why they're that way. For a long time, scientists believed that their small stature was simply the result of malnutrition or isolation. Then a more interesting theory emerged, that they were small so they could move more easily through the dense jungle, climb trees with greater agility, and survive on fewer calories in an environment where food is not always abundant. And there is a lot of truth to that. Pygmies are extraordinary climbers. Their feet possess a flexibility and grip that no other human population has, allowing them to scale vertical trees in an almost supernatural way to gather honey, fruit, or eggs. But science went further, and what it found was even more fascinating. Genetic studies revealed that pygmies are not born small. At birth, they are completely normal in size compared to any other human baby. The extraordinary thing happens during adolescence. While other children around the world experience the growth spurt that takes them to their adult height, the pygmy body simply slows down. It stops growing, as if the jungle had programmed a signal into their genetic code that says, "This is as far as you go, you don't need any more." If this video is surprising you, hit like right now and subscribe to Uncensored World, because here you'll discover the world like nowhere else. Researchers have determined that this halt is related to very low levels of a growth factor called IGF-1 during puberty. It's neither a deficiency nor a disease. It's a deliberate adaptation that evolution has embedded in their genome after thousands of years of natural selection in the jungle. And what's most impressive is that they aren't the only ones. The jungle does the same thing to the animals that live there. In the same regions where pygmies live, there are pygmy elephants, pygmy buffalo, and pygmy hippos, all significantly smaller than their relatives in other ecosystems. The dense jungle, with its limited resources and closed canopy, favors small bodies. And over thousands of years, both the animals and the humans living there gradually grew smaller, generation after generation, until they reached the perfect size for survival. This is no coincidence. It is evolution at work in real time. The Pygmies also have one of the deepest relationships with the jungle ever documented among any people on Earth. They do not view it as a resource. They regard it as a living being with which they coexist and to which they owe respect. They have specific rituals to ask permission before hunting, to give thanks after finding honey, and to communicate with what they call the spirit of the jungle. Some groups, such as the Mbuti, hold a ceremony called Molimo when something serious threatens the group, playing music for days to awaken the jungle and ask it to restore balance. Their knowledge of the environment is so precise that researchers who have lived with them describe the experience as moving through a city you know by heart, but where you can't read any signs. Do you think being small can be an advantage, or quite the opposite? Leave your answer in the comments. But if you think the Pygmies' adaptation is extraordinary, the next tribe takes the concept of adaptation to a whole new level. In the Namibian desert, there is a people who have turned never bathing in their entire lives into an evolutionary advantage, and science backs them up. Number 6. The Himba, the tribe that survives without water in the hottest desert. In northwestern Namibia, in a region called Kaukoland, lies one of the most hostile and arid deserts on the planet. Temperatures exceed 45 degrees for months on end. Water is so scarce that finding it can mean walking for hours. Vegetation is almost non-existent. It's a place where human survival should be impossible. The Himba have been living there since the 16th century. There are approximately 50,000 of them, and they have developed a way of life so perfectly adapted to their environment that anthropologists describe it as one of the most sophisticated examples of human survival under extreme conditions ever documented. And it all revolves around a deep red substance called otjize. Otjize is a mixture of animal fat, aromatic resin, and ochre, a reddish clay rich in iron oxide. The Himba apply it all over their bodies and hair every morning, from birth until death. They never shower, they never wash with water. Instead, they take aromatic smoke baths, sitting over containers of burning herbs that purify their skin and bodies from below. For them, water is too precious to use for personal hygiene when the desert may not yield a single drop for weeks. For years, Western researchers viewed this practice with skepticism. Then they analyzed it in a laboratory and discovered something unexpected. Otjize acts as a highly effective natural sunscreen, protecting the skin from ultraviolet radiation that is devastating in Kaukoland. It has antibacterial properties that keep the skin free of infections in an environment where any open wound can be fatal. And the aromatic resin it contains acts as a natural repellent against insects that are abundant in the region. What appeared to be a primitive custom was in fact a biotechnological solution perfected over centuries. The visible result is striking. The Himba have some of the most recognizable skin in the world, that intense reddish hue that makes them unmistakable. And this has made them one of the most photographed and studied tribes by anthropologists and photographers from around the globe. But beneath that skin lies more than just aesthetics. There is a form of armor. Their society is organized in a way that also defies Western norms. The Himba are patrilineal when it comes to the inheritance of land and livestock, but matrilineal regarding spiritual heritage and clan identity. A child belongs to his mother's clan but inherits his father's property. Two lines of identity run parallel within the same person. Himba hospitality is legendary among anthropologists who have lived with them. A Himba chief may offer a visitor the most valuable thing he possesses, including the company of his own wife, in a gesture of welcome that in their culture represents the highest honor that can be bestowed upon a stranger. It is not infidelity. It is generosity taken to its most extreme expression. Would you accept an invitation from a Himba chief? Tell us in the comments what you would do. And in a desert where water is scarce, where the sun is scorching, and where parasites lurk, the Himba have survived for centuries by remaining exactly who they are, without changing, without giving in, without needing anything the modern world considers essential. They are, according to the very researchers who have studied them, proof that beauty and survival can do more than just coexist. They can be exactly the same thing. But if you think the Himba have found the formula for surviving in Africa's most hostile place, the next tribe takes human longevity into territory that science still can't fully explain. In the mountains of northern Pakistan, there is a valley where people live to be over 100 years old, and where 60-year-old women look like they're 30. Number 5. The Hunza, the tribe where people live to be over 100 years old. In the far north of Pakistan, where the Karakoram Mountains rise to nearly 8,000 meters, there is a valley so remote and isolated that for centuries the rest of the world simply did not know it existed. To reach it, one must cross mountain passes that remain closed by snow for months. There are no highways. There are no airports. Only rock, ice, and silence. That valley is called Hunza, and for decades it was known throughout the world as the place where people do not age. The accounts that came from the first Western explorers and doctors who visited the valley in the 20th century were hard to believe. Men who claimed to be 120 years old and were still working the fields. Women in their 70s who looked like they were in their 40s. Elderly people who climbed mountains at ages when any Westerner would have been unable to walk without assistance for years. The Hunza Valley became a legend, the place where the secret to human immortality had been discovered without anyone in the West knowing it. Reality, as is almost always the case, is more interesting than the legend. When modern researchers arrived with actual measuring tools, they found that many of the records of extreme ages were unverifiable. There was no official documentation. No one had recorded birth dates. The oldest Hunza simply estimated their ages based on memory and oral tradition, and tended to round up generously. The 120-year-olds were probably 90. The 110-year-olds were probably 85. But 90 years in the Hunza Valley is nothing like 90 years anywhere else in the world. Because what researchers did confirm, with real data and precise measurements, is that the Hunza age in a way that completely defies Western patterns. Their rates of cardiovascular disease are extraordinarily low. Cancer is almost non-existent among the traditional population. Their blood pressure at age 70 is comparable to that of a 40-year-old Western adult, and their physical capacity in old age is unmatched by any other population studied in Central Asia. 60-year-old women who look to be under 30, 80-year-old men who continue to farm their fields on mountain slopes at altitudes of over 2,000 meters. That's not a myth. That's documented. What is the reason? Researchers point to several factors that work together. The first is diet. The Hunza eat mainly vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains that they grow themselves. Very little meat, almost no sugar, and an extraordinary amount of apricots, which they eat fresh in the summer and dried throughout the winter. Apricot seed oil is their main source of fat and is packed with antioxidants. The second factor is the inevitable physical activity. Living in a mountain valley means that every trip involves climbing or descending steep slopes. They don't go to the gym. They don't need to. Their geography keeps them physically active all the time without them even having to think about it. The third factor is seasonal fasting. During the months leading up to the harvest, when winter reserves run low, the Hunza spend weeks eating very small amounts of food. This circumstance-driven intermittent fasting is now being recognized by modern science as one of the most powerful tools for cellular longevity. And the fourth factor is probably the most difficult to replicate. Chronic stress, that silent enemy that ages cells from within, simply does not exist in Hunza in the same way it does in a modern city. Life is hard, but it is predictable, it is communal, and it has a rhythm that the human body recognizes as natural. The Hunza do not hold the secret to immortality, but they have something almost as valuable. A way of life that allows the human body to reach its full potential without destroying itself along the way. But if you think living to be 100 in the mountains of Pakistan is extraordinary, wait until you meet the next tribe. Because in those very same mountains just a few hours away, There is a people with blue eyes and blonde hair who have lived in complete isolation from the rest of humanity for 12,000 years, and their story is even stranger. Number 4. The Kalash, the blue-eyed people isolated for 12,000 years at the end of the world. In the Hindu Kush mountains of northwestern Pakistan, hidden in 3 narrow valleys surrounded by peaks exceeding 4,000 meters, lives the smallest and most mysterious religious minority in the entire country, the Kalash, a community of between 3,000 and 4,000 people that for centuries has caught the attention of all who have visited them, for a reason that is difficult to explain the first time you see it. In the heart of Pakistan, completely surrounded by a Muslim population, there are people with blonde or light brown hair and blue or green eyes. For generations, this fueled a legend that spread throughout the region. It was said that the Kalash were descended from the lost soldiers of Alexander the Great, who had crossed those mountains in the 4th century BC during his campaign toward India. That some of his warriors had been left behind, had intermarried with the local population, and had given rise to this people with features so distinct from the rest. It was a fascinating story, and it was completely false. When modern geneticists analyzed the Kalash's DNA, what they found was even more extraordinary than any legend. The Kalash are not descended from any conquerors who passed through the area. They are not the result of any recent intermingling. They are an ancient indigenous population that became separated from all other human groups in South Asia approximately 12,000 years ago. Since then, they have lived in those 3 valleys in such extreme isolation and with so little genetic mixing with the outside world that they are, in the words of the researchers themselves, a frozen genetic snapshot of a world that no longer exists. 12,000 years looking inward, without mixing, without diluting, without disappearing. Their religion is polytheistic, filled with gods, mountain fairies, and nature spirits. In a country where such beliefs can cost one's life, they practice rituals that have more in common with the religions of ancient Greece or Persia than with any modern faith. Their festivals are explosions of music, dance, and wine in a region where alcohol is prohibited by religious law. The Kalash cultivate their own vineyards and ferment their own wine, which plays a central role in their social and spiritual life. Their society is governed by a fundamental concept that divides the world into pure and impure. The mountains, juniper, goats, and men are considered pure. The low valleys, outsiders, and women during certain biological phases are considered impure. Because of this, women spend their menstrual periods and childbirth in a communal house called a bashali, located by the river, away from the village. Men are forbidden from even touching its walls. But inside, the women are freed from all household chores. They rest, work, and socialize together until a purification ritual allows them to return. Their marriage customs are also surprising. A woman can leave her husband for another man even while she is married. The new suitor simply pays double the original wedding price to the former husband, and the matter is settled without drama or social consequences. The Kalash are also considered one of the peoples with the most striking physical features in the entire region. Their European features, set amidst the mountains of Pakistan, have attracted photographers, anthropologists, and curious visitors from around the world for decades. But if you think 12,000 years of isolation is extraordinary, the next tribe tops that. Because in Africa there is a people whose DNA is the oldest on the entire planet. And they also speak a language that bears no resemblance to any other known human sound. Number 3. The San, the oldest humans on the planet. In southern Africa, across the deserts of Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, lives the oldest people on Earth, not in a metaphorical sense, in a genetic and literal sense. The San, also known as the Bushmen, are the oldest unbroken human lineage in existence. Their DNA diverged from the rest of humanity more than 150,000 years ago. To understand what that means, when the first modern humans left Africa to populate the rest of the planet, the San had already been living for thousands of years exactly where they live today. The entire modern human population descends from a branch that diverged from them. The San are, in genetic terms, the grandparents of all humanity, and yet they are one of the least known and most threatened peoples on the planet. The San are hunter-gatherers who have lived in the Kalahari Desert for more than 150,000 years without needing anything the desert could not provide. Their tracking skills are legendary and have been scientifically documented. They can track a wounded animal for 3 days across dry terrain without losing the trail. They can identify which animal passed a given spot, how long ago, whether it was wounded, frightened, or calm, and in which direction it was moving, all by examining footprints in the sand that anyone else would not even notice, let alone step on. But their most extraordinary trait is not in their feet, it is in their mouths. The San speak one of the oldest and most complex languages ever documented by linguistics. Their language is built on clicks and sounds that do not exist in any other known human language. There are dental clicks, palatal clicks, and lateral clicks, each with a completely different meaning. To a Western ear, these are impossible to distinguish and nearly impossible to reproduce. Linguists who have spent years studying it describe its phonetic complexity as something without parallel in any other language in the world. If this video is surprising you, give it a like right now. It's the best way to help us keep bringing you stories like these every week. The most striking aspect of their recent history isn't what they've preserved, it's what they've survived. During the 20th century, the governments of Botswana and South Africa carried out systematic campaigns to expel them from their ancestral lands and force them to live in modern settlements. They were forbidden from hunting. Their tools were confiscated. They were told that their way of life was primitive and that they must abandon it. The San lost almost everything, and yet they survived. Today, some groups have reclaimed part of their territories through legal battles that reach the supreme courts of their countries. They continue to practice tracking. They continue to speak in clicks. They continue to pass down knowledge that took 150,000 years to build. They are the living memory of what all human beings once were. But if you think the San are extraordinary for being the oldest humans on the planet, the next tribe takes that idea to a whole new level. Because in the Brazilian Amazon, there is a people who never sleep, who speak by whistling through the jungle, and whose language has turned everything science thought it knew about human language upside down. Number 2. The Pirahã, the tribe that never sleeps and communicates by whistling. Imagine going to bed every night thinking that if you sleep for more than 15 minutes straight, something might take you away while you dream, that you might not wake up as the same person, that the being who opens their eyes in the morning would no longer be exactly you. Now imagine that everyone around you is absolutely convinced that this is what happens. And that's why no one around you wants to fall completely asleep. This society exists. They're called the Pirahã, and they live in the Brazilian Amazon. The Pirahã are a tribe of hunters and fishermen who live on the banks of the Mighty River, in one of the most remote corners of Brazil. There are approximately 400 of them. They have been living in the same jungle for thousands of years, and during that time they have developed a way of understanding the world so radically different from ours that the scientists who have studied them openly admit that some of their characteristics simply do not fit into any known theoretical framework. Let's start with sleep. The Pirahã do not sleep, or more precisely, they refuse to sleep for long periods. They take short naps of between 15 and 30 minutes spread throughout the day and night, both during the day and at night, in any position and anywhere. The reason is a deep-seated belief shared by the entire community. Deep sleep kills the person you used to be. When someone wakes up after a long sleep, the Pirahã consider that person to have died, and that the one opening their eyes is someone new. That is why they change their names several times throughout their lives. Every time they feel they have changed profoundly as a person, they adopt a new name. Identity is not something fixed, it is something that flows. But sleep is not the most extraordinary thing about the Pirahã. Their language is probably the most studied and debated in all of modern linguistics. The Pirahã language has no numbers. It has no 1, no 2, and no 10. They have no way of counting. They have no distinct colors with their own words. Their grammar has neither past nor future tense. Only the present exists. What is happening right now? What can be seen, touched, or heard at this very moment? If you cannot perceive it directly, there is no way to talk about it in the Pirahã language. This led linguist Daniel Everett, who lived with them for decades, to publish a study that shook the foundations of global linguistics. Everett argued that the Pirahã language directly contradicts Noam Chomsky's theory of universal grammar, which held that all human languages share an innate deep structure. The Pirahã language does not have it, or at least not in the way Chomsky described it. The debate sparked by that study remains open today among the world's leading linguists. Their language can also be sung, whistled, and hummed while retaining its full meaning. The Pirahã communicate by whistling across the jungle with the same precision with which other peoples would speak face to face. In the darkness of the Amazonian night, their whistles travel through kilometers of dense vegetation, carrying complete and precise messages. They have no concept of history. They have no creation myths. They have no stories about what happened before the living members of the tribe were born. If no one present experienced it, it does not exist in their culture. The past that no one directly remembers simply isn't part of their world. How many days do you think you could survive by taking only 15-minute naps? Leave your answer in the comments. And before we meet the tribe featured at the end of this video, tell us, which of all the tribes we've seen so far has surprised you the most? Because what comes next is the climax that the entire video has been building toward. A tribe that hears messages in the sea that no modern instrument can detect. And thanks to that, they survived the most devastating tsunami of the 21st century, while thousands of people around them died without understanding what was happening. Number 1. The Moken, the tribe that listened to the ocean and survived the end of the world. In the Andaman Sea, between the coasts of Thailand and Myanmar, there is a people whom sailors in the region call the Sea Gypsies, the Moken, about 3,000 people who, for centuries, have lived on wooden boats, moving among the islands without ever settling in any one place, with no permanent destination, with no land of their own, with no home other than the horizon. The Moken spend between 8 and 9 months a year entirely at sea. Their boats, called kabang, are handcrafted from a single piece of wood and are designed to serve simultaneously as a boat, a kitchen, and a bedroom for an entire family. They are born at sea. They learn to swim before they learn to walk, and many of them die at sea without ever having slept more than a few nights in a row on dry land. Their knowledge of the ocean is unmatched by any other seafaring people studied worldwide. They know the currents, winds, seabed, and tides of every corner of their territory, with a precision that no modern instrument has managed to surpass in their region. They know which marine animals behave in certain ways before a storm. They can read the color of the water to determine its depth without measuring it. They can navigate at night by the stars with an accuracy that took Western sailors centuries to achieve with a compass and sextant. But all that knowledge is not what made the Moken a global legend. What made them a legend happened on December 26, 2004. That morning, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Sumatra triggered the most devastating tsunami of the 21st century. The waves reached heights of up to 30 meters. They swept away entire coastlines in Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and India. 228,000 people died in a matter of hours. It was one of the greatest natural disasters in modern human history. The islands where the Moken lived were directly in the path of the waves. And yet, when rescue teams arrived on those islands days later, expecting to find the same horror they had seen everywhere else, they found something they could not explain. The Moken were alive, virtually all of them. They had climbed to the hills hours before the first wave struck, not because they had phones, not because they had received any warnings, not because any satellite had alerted them. But because they had read the sea, the Moken elders recognized signs that their ancestors had taught them to identify since childhood. The sea receded in an unusual way. The dolphins swam out into deeper waters. The elephants on the neighboring islands began moving toward higher ground without anyone guiding them. The birds stopped flying in their usual patterns. To any Western tourist on those beaches that morning, everything seemed like a normal morning. To the Moken, each of those signs was a word in a language they've been learning to read for thousands of years. The ancestral knowledge that the modern world has spent centuries dismissing as superstition had just saved every life in their community. When researchers arrived to study what had happened, the Moken elders described the situation with a clarity that left the scientists without an immediate answer. They spoke of the Laboon, the spirit that devours people, a figure from their oral tradition that describes exactly how the sea behaves before a tsunami. Not as a metaphor, as a survival manual passed down from generation to generation for thousands of years. Modern science, with all its satellites, sensors, and early warning systems, was unable to warn 228,000 people in time. The oral knowledge of a tribe of sea nomads, without electricity or the internet, saved every single one of them. Today, the Moken are under enormous pressure. The governments of Thailand and Myanmar have been pushing them inland, toward permanent settlements, schools, and identity documents. Many young Moken no longer learn to read the sea as their grandparents did. The language in which the ocean speaks to them has been falling into oblivion for decades. And with every Moken elder who dies without passing on their knowledge, the world loses a library that took millennia to compile, and that no computer on the planet can ever recover. Would you like to be connected to nature like the Moken? Or do you think the modern world has disconnected us forever? Leave your answer in the comments. And if this video has made you see the world through different eyes, hit like and subscribe to Uncensored World, because here you'll discover the world like nowhere else. And it doesn't end here. If these tribes have left you speechless, the next video will do the same. Because in Africa, there are societies where young men must leap over wild bulls to become men. Warriors who face lions with nothing to protect them. Women who bear scars on their bodies as a symbol of the highest honor. And entire villages that live alongside the planet's deadliest predators, as if they were part of the family. Don't miss the video that follows this one to learn about Africa's most extreme tribes. It's waiting for you.